Good evening, everyone. It's going to be a tough one to get short. It's called Angels and Monsters. It's the third episode in Hero season. And it starts out with an update of the last couple of shows and goes right into Nathan and Stacy talking about her power and how she froze the reporter and wants to turn herself in. And then it goes to where Peter shows up and breaks Siler's neck in the cell. And since he's got Claire's power, Siler / Gabriel fixes his neck. And Peter's also trying to take off his mother's head, Mrs. Petrelli, right? Now, and it goes to where the two moms are wondering where Claire might be. And the real mom goes to find Claire. Now, Claire has met up with the vortex guy. He creates vortexes and you get sucked into them. And he's gotten in trouble. He had an argument with a guy who lived next door to, and it got heated. And by accident, he sucked the guy into the vortex and found himself locked away in Hangar 5 with all the other who they presume to be bad guys with powers, right? Then the vortex guy explains to he's getting tasered by Claire, right? But then he gets awake and creates a vortex and sucks the taser into it. And then he's explaining to Claire that he's really not a bad guy. He explains, like I just told you, about happened. And she said, and then he tells her, well, you can take off. And she says, you're going to let me go? And she says, well, let me help you out. And she helps him, because he's just trying to find his wife and kid. So she finds out where his wife and kid is, and she's talking to him. As she does that, Noah and Gabriel show up. And they're going to try and get the vortex guy. So he creates this big vortex and is sucking everything in, and Claire's holding on to some piping and stuff like that. And Gabriel / Siler saves Claire from getting sucked into the vortex. Now it switches over to Nathan and Stacy talking to Mrs. Petrelli, right? And she's explaining to them what happened with the experiments and everything like that, and how they went bad. And by the way, Claire looks really hot this season. You can see her right over my shoulder right there. And she's looking really great. For some reason, they're dressing her in these black outfits with heels where she looks fantastic. Anyway, back to the story. And Teresh, he's kind of gone nuts. Because remember, he injected himself with that stuff? So he's taking people and putting them in cocoons or something in his place. And Maya comes in and she tells him, since the show's called Angels and Monsters, a lot of people are getting called monsters during the show. And Hero, he shows up. He's in a bar. He's still trying to get the formula. He's talking to the speedster girl, right? She's showing up, and her real name is Oh dear. I should have gotten my notes straightened out before I did all this. I'm so tired too. Well, the speedster girl, she's talking to Knox, who is like the leader. He's the one that's been talking to Noah, to try and get him to be one of the bad guys too, with becoming a senator. And what they're trying to do is create their own little army where, you know, people who have gone into the future see what happens. That, you know, everyone, there's just like a ton of bad people just doing horrible things, and the whole world blows up. And to prevent the what happened last on the last show, where Siler gets real mad and blows up a whole big part of California, Cerrito or whatever. Mr. Petrelli, he tries to, or Claire's dad, he tries to get the vortex guy to suck him into a vortex, and instead of doing that, he sucks himself in. He just opens up a vortex and says, "I'm not a monster," and he sucks himself into a vortex. Then Mrs. Petrelli, who's like the mother of Nathan and Peter and Gabriel / Siler, she's sitting at her desk, and she kind of has like a vision and sees Stacy and Peter and Nathan killed in a hallway, but sees her old husband standing in front of her, and he says, "I couldn't let them go on, they know too much, right?" And then it swings over to the end of the movie, the end of the show, to where here is the fellow she had just seen in front of her, who is her husband, Mr. Petrelli, and he is the one who is putting together this whole group of people, who includes the cop who's still over in Africa, as far as I know, and the speedster girl's gone over to recruit him to be one of the bad guys. So what I would suggest is that you watch it, and either go over to NBC and watch it there on NBC.com, or in 2 days they'll run it again. That's what they did last week anyway, because I screwed up the whole synopsis really badly. But I hope I gave you some idea that it's a really great show, and it's well worth seeing. I thank you all for your participation, and I'll catch you back on the tube. Bye.